All right. Well, we gonna hop on in this thing, bro. Want me just introduce you as Broken Prodycal?
Yeah, man, that'd be dope, man. That's why I got the headband. I'm kind of forgettable.
Oh, well, yeah. I ain't even peep it. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to another episode of A Business Minute. I'm your boy, Sirr. And today I got another musical guest. I got Broken Prodycal in the building today. How you doing, brother?
Yes, sir. How you doing, man? I'm doing great.
Hey, always a blessing to be on this side of the dirt, as my grandma used to say.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I'm saying? So, you're an artist. You're here in Mobile, and just like I was telling you, someone sent me a link to your music and your mixtapes, and I actually went back and snagged your last two from thatpiff.com.
Okay, that's cool.
And I sat back and really listened, and I love your take on music.
Okay.
I love from the instrumentals that you choose.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those situations where not only does the beat hook you, but the way you go about your verses and the way they're structured, there's layers to it, like immediately. And I like the way you choose the titles of your song. Like that's another thing that a lot of people don't do. They'll be like, "Oh, what's the hook? Whatever I said." You specifically choose an emotion or a thought, like a fragment of what you was feeling, and it pertains to the title. Not only is that clever, but it makes it easier to locate the song because, like I said, I misnamed it, the name of the song a second ago, but I know which one I was looking for.
Yeah, Down Days.
Right.
Got you.
Hot track, bro. Hot track.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna jump on into this thing. For those who don't know who you are, could you just tell everyone who you are and what it is that you do, brother?
Yeah, my name is Broken Prodycal. I am a Christian hip hop artist. Originally, I didn't start off that way. I had an intervention with the Lord back in 2009. I gave my life to the Lord, and in that series event, prior to that, I was in the midst of about to join the gang. I was about to be a blood. I had friends that were doing all kinds of drugs, different influences, and I was just on a way spiraling down, almost to the point of suicide. And the Lord just intervened in that situation and allowed me to really get peace through Him. And that experience made me want to re-navigate some of the things that I cope with, and that was music. Music was a big part of healing for me. Situations I couldn't talk about, I knew that music influenced my thought process, so I was like, how can I use my gift already in a way that can help people or young people re-navigate how they see life? So the name, I went through several different names. I've been Broken Prodycal for about maybe a year now. I was CT the artist of Self, my first and last name, but the Lord really put on my heart to name myself Broken Prodycal because a lot of people don't see themselves as broken before Him. And like the prodigal son, you know, he took all his father's riches and left and wasted them, and got to a point to where he was in a pigsty eating food. Even though he was royalty, he was eating a pig slop, which in Jewish culture is not kosher at all. And just remembering, you know, if I become a servant in my father's house, I'll be doing better than what I'm doing now. So he turns around and he creates this excuse to tell his father so he can get back in the kingdom. And his father, before he can say anything, sees him afar off and embraces him and grabs him and said, "My son was once dead to me, but now he's alive." Made a celebration. So the prodigal part is always me returning back to God, or that God is always able to open His arms to a son. So yeah.
All right, I peeped that. I wanted to I wanted to indirectly ask you how you got the name, because I feel like I understood, but I think that's dope. It took me a minute to get it because I saw your name first and I was like, I wonder where he's going with this, and then I listened to your music and I was like, okay, this makes sense. He's coming back to it. That's awesome. I think from a standpoint, I think people look at that and they would be embarrassed to tell that story, that they went out, you know, I won't say necessarily failed, but they went out, experienced life. Maybe didn't get the results they was looking for, and they came back. And I think the thing that gets us is we're our worst critic. And so we make up all these scenarios, just like the prodigal son did. He made up a whole scenario to tell his father because he was embarrassed. But that's not the important thing. The important thing is that you had it in your heart to come home.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you doing that and putting that as your name, because that's going to direct people to do the same.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man.
All right. So, next question. I know we spoke about doing music professionally, but overall, how long have you been doing music?
See, I say professional, that's when the mic got included. I started actually like in 6th grade with freestyling at Maines Middle School, and I was listening. It was a CD called Paper Boys, and niggas had a theme going through the track going, I be the one, and they were saying different stuff. And it was my turn to freestyle. I didn't know how to flow, so I repeated what they said and then added my own little lingo to it, and people were like, man, that was good. So that actually started the maybe I can go somewhere with this. And then 8 Mile came out around my 7th and 8th grade year. And I start taking my lyricism to another level. I start writing, and I would recite it to friends, and like, man, that's dope. I even had some guy named Thaddeus, man. He was like, man, this is so dope. Stole my notebook when I went looking. And I thought it was funny until I went to gym, and he's flowing my stuff. Just like that. And I just thought it was funny. I was like, man, it's funny that you picked up on the cadences. Those are some difficult lines. But it was all love, man. I wrote so much that him taking one notebook just inspired me to keep going and going with it. So, yeah, man. Been doing it for a while far on a writing process. That's been since 14. Since 14.
I'm not going to ask your age, but okay. We'll put that in perspective. All right.
Yeah.
So, coming this far, doing music since you was 14, were there any obstacles that you encountered?
Yeah. For the most part, man, I would tell everybody, man, you got to be confident and believe in yourself, man. Before I became a Christian rapper, I was a secular rapper. And in that realm, my music, it was like, I feel like it was slapping or good in the eyes of the people, but it didn't match me at all. Like, and my wife is somebody who helped me see that, because I was still doing secular music when I met her, and like she was like, it sounds good, but it doesn't feel like you. And I remember trying to sell CDs and stuff, and people were listening, like, man, it's good, but it was hard for me to stand behind that image, because it was such this rugged, hard dude, and I was this dude that like really like anime. I'm an artist. You know what I'm saying? I like video games. I'm a likable dude. I can make people laugh. I'm easy to gravitate to, but this image was what fathered me. This image was what I was listening to in music. I had a cousin that was a gangbanger, and he was teaching me how to rap, or teaching me how to go about certain things. So I had to switch it up. So I realized that be yourself 100%. Like be yourself, tell your story, because there's somebody out there that has that same story or an identical story, and they feel like they're the only ones. And there's even scripture that says that there's no temptation or situation that we've been through that no other man has been through. And through the word of our testimony, man, you save lives. So
it's true.
Yeah.
That is pretty forthcoming with life in general, because you do imitate what you ingest, whether it be energy, food, or whatever. You try to incorporate that because it appears to be cool.
Yeah.
But kudos to you to figure out that wasn't you.
Yeah.
Not lying to yourself, finding your own lane and doing that, especially in the age of social media now.
Yeah.
With the kids now, they, that's all they look forward to. Is the lifestyle that may not even be truthful to the person that's portraying it as well.
Yeah.
This could be like I call them. I don't call them facades. I call them personas.
Yeah.
Because it may be an aspect of that person, but turned up to 11. It's exaggerated.
Yeah.
In some cases. So I'm glad you brought that to light. I'm glad that you're advocating that and you live that. So you can speak to it, because when you speak to it and you lived it, it's a certain authenticity to it. And people tend to gravitate towards truth more.
Yeah.
Regardless of how pretty a lie may be, truth is always more potent to me.
Oh yeah.
All right. So coming up on a question that kind of delves into being a man, having life, having wear many hats, being a husband.
Yeah.
How do you manage to balance that life or that line between your work, being a husband, and your personal life?
Man, that's probably one of the toughest things trying to balance, because like in the song that you checked out on Sunset Sunrise mixtape, Sade, the song Down Days, the perspective of the song is like, you know, trying to be the husband, trying to be the provider, the source, also chasing a dream, which interferes sometimes with the commitment, you know, because in the marriage covenant, the husband is the head, so he has to lead a family, and sometimes that's scary. Being a wife, kudos to my wife for holding it down. It's scary not knowing, is this person full motive to lead us directly into a positive place, or are they willing to chase the dream and leave us trampled over? So balancing, not doing that, is almost like playing it safe, but really managing, man. Time management, finding time to work and do work at work, because I lose my attention span. I'll start writing verses at work. But what you do is just give yourself discipline, like really build a time schedule, man. Manage your time. It seems like in this generation, time is stolen from us just from looking at your cell phone, strolling. You can do that for hours and then lose time in another area. So really just balancing everything out. It's all about trying to create a healthy balance. A father of 5, so it's like I have to come home, be daddy, go over homework, you know what I'm saying? Then be the husband to listen to what she went through, and then also have time to be fed by God. Like really get in my word and pray for myself. And then the musical side, it comes natural, man. It comes when I'm driving sometimes, man. I record a reference on my phone and be like, yo, that's a dope idea. I'll write on it later. So it's all about, right now for me in this situation, it's just about balancing. Because if one outweighs the other, you're going to feel, being the man, you're going to feel it. You're like, oh, man.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll be man enough to say I still haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
I recently had Google Calendars recommended to me, and talk about a lifesaver. Yeah. Because I am horrible with remembering dates and engagements, and I had to make a whiteboard.
Yeah. See.
And I had stuff to do. So I want to take a couple steps back. Let's go back.
That's cool.
Let's talk about your childhood. What were you like as a child before Broken Prodycal? How were
the middle child? So if anybody don't know, the middle child is kind of the child that most times, not all times, but most times the child is kind of overlooked, because it was 4 kids. My mom had an older son, a daughter, her only daughter, then me, and then a baby boy. So it's like a lot of my childhood, my mom did the best she could to love me, but I got overlooked a lot. Like my little brother, he's a singer, and he has a personality that people just grab. He does Zumba. You might see him on social media, but like people gravitate to him easy. He's likable. He's very likable, and a lot of times I realized that I would kind of shout on myself to not even telling my mom or dad what I was going through, just because of the light he would get sometimes, or I would just find a way to get to myself, be by myself. I was so used to doing that, and I realized that as I got older, it started to affect my relationships. You know, always feeling overlooked. You know what I'm saying? This feeling of wanting to be accepted. Even as a teenager, I remember being in the gym, and you know the pep rallies are going on, kids are doing their thing, playing basketball, cheerleaders are cheerleading, and a piece of you is like, man, I kind of want that light. You know, I want people to see me as something. And I had like people that cared about me. My older brother, man, praise God for him, man. Like he did a lot more than my dad actually did as far as fathering me, but he's my brother, so he can't really father me, but he was just a dope big brother, because he picked up on a lot of stuff. He'll see me lacking something simple as, oh, you need new shoes, you know, and he'll go get them. He won't ask me if I need them. He'll just look and go grab them. So he was one person that didn't overlook me. So praise God for that, man.
Yeah, big brothers are important. I agree.
Yeah.
I'm the baby brother, and coming from a single home with my mom, my brother did the same thing. My brother and I are 10 years apart.
Yeah, mine's 12.
Okay,
yeah,
so I definitely know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It was times where big, like I remember one in particular. There was a field trip. I went to Fondle Elementary. There's a field trip in the 4th grade that we were always looking forward to. It was to Montgomery, and I couldn't go because we didn't have the money.
Yeah.
But the night before, my brother slid me the money, and I had my mom sign the report card, and that made my day. Like, from going from not being able to go and being crushed because all your friends are going.
Yeah.
But he saw that, saw how it affected me. He worked overtime to pay for it because it was like a $50 field trip, and back in the day, back in the night, $50 was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So he worked overtime, man. He used to work at TJ Maxx over by the mall where it used to be.
Yeah.
And he made it happen, and he did a lot of that for me growing up. So I get what you're saying. He did a lot of fathering, but from the position of a brother.
Yeah.
And people used to ask me, did I feel awkward having that time gap? But at the same time, I think it benefited us both. Because here I was going through life, but he had a 10-year jump on it, so he could kind of guide me and give me an advice on what's going on. So I think that's important. I think that's important, especially with school. And speaking of school, usually there's 1 or 2 teachers that really, whether they know it or not, kind of spark that creative fire in you, or at least stoke it for you. Were there any teachers that stood out for you?
I'll never forget Maine's Middle, 7th grade. I think her name was Natalie Davis, and she was my English teacher, man. And
what is it about English teachers?
I know, right? But she really loved her job. You can tell she loved her job. She made her class fun, relatable, likable, and I never forget. I was just telling a friend this. I remember when she had an assignment where we had to rhyme with words, and I was like, what better time for me to shine? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like, so I did it. I got my words together and I rhymed it, and the class gave me like a standing ovation. Like, yo, that was fresh, man. And she was like, yo, I knew you was gonna kill it. And she was like, she made an announcement. She said, I want y'all to know who has like the highest grade point average in the whole team in my class. And it was like, it's probably her. She's a nerd. And there's people speaking. People were like, nah, it's Carl. He got like a 99.7. So, like her energy and just seeing like, man, I can be good at something. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm used to being overlooked. You know what I'm saying? And her to identify like, yo, you got something special about you. That really helped.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Shout out to teachers, man. I don't think they got it. It's what they make, man, and what they have to go through with, horrible kids. I hate to say it that way, but
it's true, man.
It is.
Like,
the stress, and man, I didn't realize it because it's funny you mentioned 7th grade.
Yeah.
My aunt, who was my favorite aunt on earth, was a English teacher and home ec teacher. So I transferred from Booker T to Theodore Middle. Okay. Now when I did this, I got my schedule. I didn't peep the names on the schedule. Yeah. I just was trying to figure my way out. So where are they? Where are the people showing me? Yeah. I walk in there and there's my aunt. Yeah. And when I say she was the hardest on me, but at the same time I loved it. Yeah. I loved it. She would always make us write. Yeah. And that's why I got my love of words and poetry. And she would make us do crossword puzzles, crypto quips. I don't know if you remember those in the newspaper. Yeah. And it drove my love of words, what got me writing. Like I'm writing a book now. Yeah. Talk about my experiences and rest in peace to her. It's always those teachers that see something in you that you may not see or you may know, and they may not blatantly say it, but they'll cater something to give you that shine you're looking for. So that's cool, man. That's what's up. That's dope. So looking over all of your years, is there any one moment so far that's been like, this is why I do music. This is why I love it. Back in 2000, I want to say 2009, I gave my life to the Lord, but I wasn't doing music yet.
as a Christian hip hop artist, I was kind of like still learning the Bible, learning the things of Christianity, and I thought, like, at that point I was like, rap music is just bad. It's not what God wants. And then God gave me a piece about it one day, like, you know, you still can do music, you know, like you still can do music and you can just do it for my glory. And I remember the first performance, like I remember my friend Ray, he always wanted to do Christian hip hop. Off the jump, we would do regular rap. He's like, man, let's just try to do this Christian song. And he would get like Hot Boy beats and rap about Jesus, booty shaking beats. I'm like, nah. Like, bro, I can't do this, man. I don't think this right. But at this moment, he was like a breath of fresh air for him. Like, man, finally, you ready to do this? You know what I'm saying? And I was his hype man for one of his songs he did. It was like his song was called "Let the Church Get Crunk." And we went to his church, and he was performing, and I was just hype man in his words, and I just seen how the audience reacted to him. I had never seen an audience like you see like Jay-Z's and the big rappers and people getting hyped for him, but I never seen an audience get hyped about somebody with such a potent, positive message. It was an old lady, bro, on crutches. Like, she got up and she was like turning up for Jesus, listening to this, and I was like, man, that's dope. And at that point, I still a babe Christian. I was looking at like, man, that's cool, but I was looking like, how can I do the same thing and get that same response? And then a couple months later, I got a song. I'm ready to do a set, and I forget my words. I perform, and it was so embarrassing because I was like, I wanted my wife to be in the audience some kind of way. She got caught in conversation. She was back in the back of the church, and I forgot my words, and people were like, you know, I'll help you with the words. I was like, ah. And then finally, I went to a Reach concert. And I saw Lecrae, Trip Lee, and the 116. Okay. And I was like, okay, so that's how it's got to be done. And at that point, it was like, it's not about me. You know what I'm saying? It's not about me getting the glory and people liking my music. I want to help people see Jesus through this music. So that, I want to say that my first understanding experience is what made me like, okay, I think this is what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Okay. It was a strong calling to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kudos to you mentioning that, because a lot of people would skip over that. Choking is probably the worst thing that can happen to you, because I mean, it teaches you to be humble. You know, no matter how good you are, all it takes is one to you know, throw you off. But at the same time, if I may go back to your friend, I have a firm saying that God makes no mistakes. Do you think, could it be a possibility that seed that he planted with you, sharing his idea, gave you that idea, and maybe it grew with you as time grew?
I see honestly, I want to agree with you on that, because it definitely grew on me. I won't say it definitely grew on me. One of the things is that this particular friend, man, like his commitment to Jesus in that season was crazy, because it was like, I remember my mom and my dad, they were having so many issues, and as a teenager, I was like, God, why am I here? You know, I was upset with God. I was like, man, this is such a bad and toxic situation to live in. Why did I even have to exist? Now I got to worry about going there. I wasn't a Christian, but I was conscious that I was sinful. I was like, man, I got to worry about possibly going to hell. Like, why am I here? And I remember being mad, and I said something like very mean to God. And I looked to the left, and he was crying. He was like, man, don't talk to God like that, man. He was like this same guy you yelling at, man, put food on my table. For, you know, we pray to him, and he helps us, man. And I felt bad for offending somebody he cared about, because he didn't talk about God like some distant being. He was like, man, this guy is doing stuff now in my life. And that was just seeds being planted, one of many seeds that was planted. So I was like, man, so I definitely believe that maybe definitely him always doing Christian hip hop wanted me to do it. But definitely it had to be looking at it now, it had to be.
All right. So that leads me to my next question, because it's the inverse of the previous question I asked. Because hard times create character. It really tests your faith and kind of gives you a benchmark to see where you are, because you have your idea of faith, and when you say, yeah, I'm loyal to God, you be like, yeah, you're loyal. But when times get hard, where are you really in your faith with God? So at any point in time, did you feel that, how do I put this, like you wouldn't be successful? And if so, who or what changed your mind? Like what brought you out of that funk? Because we all go through it.
Wouldn't be successful as a Christian or an artist?
I'm going to make it broad. I'm going to say both.
Well, I think the trials you go through as, like, once you get into Christianity, one of the biggest trials is like after the first time you sin again, because you start to beat yourself up and you condemn yourself, and then you get into this rat race of trying to prove to God that you can be good, trying to do a lot of good things, yet still falling because you don't really understand how God sees you clearly. And I went through like a season of that. Like it was hard. I was like, man, I'm reading my Bible, I'm fasting, I'm praying, I'm still struggling with lust. I'm thinking that this is just gonna dissipate. Many things did dissipate, like the profanity, the way I talked, that dissipated. It melted off me. But this lust thing was something that was like, man, like this thing is like on me. And it took probably about maybe a year or so for me to get around. God started putting godly men around me. He sent me to Florida. I say he sent me to Florida. I had no reason to go to Florida, but me and my wife packed up and moved to Tampa, Florida. And I met Pastor Quinn, who was just so genuine. He was like, I didn't even know he was the pastor, man. I was about to tell this man my whole life. And then the men conference started. He said, all right, well, I'm Pastor Quinn. I'm like, oh my God. Because he looked like one of us. He wasn't in no suit. He was in the jersey. He reminded me of one of my friends. And just to see how integrity was important for him, being accountable for other men, that really helped me really realize that God has a standard, but also God's grace and understanding how much he loves me. When I say that, I emphasize on that because a lot of people don't understand it. They don't understand. They see like, man, I made this one mistake, or I made this mistake. God hates me. He's going to condemn me, and they just shy away from it. They're like, I'm just going to stay away from the gospel. It reminds me of all my imperfections. Instead of seeing it as, Jesus died for everything that's happening now. And when I accept him as my Lord and Savior, he becomes the remission for those sins, and I become righteous through believing in him. So understanding that, a lot of people are afraid to say it like that, but because they think like, okay, that means you're just going to go and continuously sin now. There's no, Jesus got it. You keep saying it. That's not what that means. That means that Jesus is the only way. Like him being the only way to get to the kingdom, meaning that he is the final payment. Like if somebody went to court, they went to court and they owed $1 million, and somebody that they didn't know came in and said, I love that dude. I really love that dude. So I'm going to give you like $1 billion to pay that debt. He pays the $1 billion. The person that's on trial, he's like, okay. He's no longer thinking about the $1 million. He's like, man, he paid $1 billion, man. That's a lot of extra change.
Right.
So his debt conscience is gone. He's able to see the clearness of how much God loves him. Like, man, he loved me that much that he'll spend that much on me. Who is this God? So really, it's still a trial, man. I think until I'm gone in the flesh and present with Jesus, man, it's gonna always be a trial because this flesh is weary. It gets tired. But really, being successful as a Christian is just really being consistent and trusting and believing daily. Daily, you have to die to your flesh. I know that's a lot, but yeah.
No, man, you had me encapsulated with what you were saying.
Yeah.
I literally, it's funny, with the analogy you use, I literally visualized everything you said, every single bit. Even Jesus coming up and like, yo, I got this. I got him. He's straight. But no, that makes sense. Coming from somebody who's spiritual but hadn't found a church home. I do read my Bible. I do study on my own time. Yeah. I used to be heavily as a child, but I fell by the wayside due to the politics of church.
Yeah,
you know,
there's a
the
lot of
people
those.
in church, and that can burn people. You know, just like any establishment.
Yeah.
You have a restaurant with rude service, you don't want to go to that restaurant anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
But you don't disown food. You know, you
still
gotta
eat,
have it.
Still eat.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that's what I'm learning, and that analogy really hit home for me. That really makes sense, because I used to wonder, why even me? Why even care about me? You know, I in those times where I'm depressed and just doing bad, why forgive me? And it makes sense, because he loves me unconditionally. He paid the ultimate price to where I'm covered, but I don't use that as my excuse. I use that as the inspiration to draw closer to him. That makes sense, bro. Thank you for that. Thank you for that word. I needed that.
Praise God, man.
Hey. All right. So my next question, this is one of what I call my random questions. I wanted to pose this to you just because. Honestly.
Okay.
No rhyme or reason, just because. A lot of times people are hung up on how to pray.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to have a communication with God. And I think with me, sometimes I'll be in the house and I'll just talk, just openly speak to him, because I feel like that's important to the intimacy. And sometimes I wake up and I'll do the formal prayer. I'll get on my knees, hands folded, and do it that way. But sometimes I think people need to know that they can just sometime openly ask, you know, just like a parent. You know, you don't have to write up a statement to approach your parent. You can just come talk to me. You know, I approach Jesus with that same mindset. So with you, if you could ask God any question and he can immediately answer you, like if he was here right now in the midst of this interview, which he is, but you know what I mean. If you could ask him any one question and he'd immediately answer, what would you ask?
Man, it probably would be something in the lines of like salvation. Like, Lord, you got me for real, right? Like for real, because I'm banking everything on you interceding for me, just like that court analogy. It'd probably be that, because not even success, like success is different from me now. Success used to be, I remember, man, and I'm glad I can share this in the interview, man. I remember I was working at the Radisson back in 2008. I was a banquet boy. I used to set up tables for functions and events at the hotel. And I was on the phone with one of my guys who raps, and we just talking about what kind of chains and jewelry we're gonna get, what kind of girls we're gonna get in the video. We was talking about all that. And then an audible voice spoke to me and said, "And then what?" And that "and then what" comment, it killed, like, I was like, dang, you made it look meaningless. Like all that meant nothing. And I was like, dang, it stuck with me, because it was like a moment in Ecclesiastes, like with Solomon. He was like, you know, all things are vain. Like you lay up and you store things, and then you pass away, and another man has that. So I was like, dang, God was asking me, like, and then what? After you get all these possessions and things, like, what is it gonna add to you? And then I was just like, I guess I just want to be remembered. You know, it stumped me. That voice really stumped me. I was like, I guess I just want to be remembered then. And then God's like, okay, well, I'm going to make you rememberable. But he didn't change me immediately. It will be a course of different events that would lead me to go to the gospel. But that was one moment I'll never forget. And I was like, man, if what he said isn't true, bro, everything else is meaningless. So, yeah.
That's real. Yeah. It's funny. I'm a firm believer that God will, he may not answer you when you expect it, but when it's vital, like when it has the most impact, that's when you'll hear it.
Oh, yeah.
And it may not even come from that random voice. It could come from somebody else.
Yeah.
I've had a child say something to me that shook my whole day. Didn't even know who I was. I was just walking and talking on the phone, and I was frustrated because I'll be candid with you. My card was being declined because I was a victim of identity theft.
Yeah.
And so somebody wiped it clean.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, when I find out who did this, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. Like, I'm just cussing up a storm.
Yeah.
And they was like, why are you mad? And I was like, because somebody took something from me. And I was like, and this little girl was like, you'll get it back. You have a job, don't you? I'm like, yeah. It was like, you got a car, don't you? I'm like, yeah. You got gas, don't you? From a kid. And I'm like, Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. You win. You win. You made it. Because I do think we get hung up on the now.
Yeah.
Rather than the long term, and I think that's important, especially when it comes to your salvation. Because, like you say, one thing that's promised to us is that we're gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
You know. So
yeah.
And then what? You know.
Yeah.
You pass away, and then what? You know. Nobody else can hold your hand and guide you at that point. It's on you. All right. So I appreciate that. All right. Appreciate your candid conversation on that, bro. Now, my next question is a little bit of a long-term question. If you need a moment, I completely understand. I'll edit it out.
Hey, it's fine, man. I freestyle a lot, so I'll be.
All right, cool. All right, we'll see how you hold up with this.
Okay.
I was just talking about looking towards the future.
Mm-hmm.
So where would you like to see yourself as a family man, as an artist, as a businessman, overall, in 1 year, in 3 years, and then in 10 years?
Okay. All right. So 1 year, definitely want to be. And this year I've been doing a lot of that, really building a lot of relationships, because the idea of independent is painted. And most artists, man, I'm independent, I'm self-made, I do this all myself. But in reality, it's like a scheme for people to make you feel like you don't need help. So building relationship is key to being a successful artist. And I'm trying to step away from doing everything, because I wear all hats. I'm producing, I'm mixing, I'm mastering, I'm plastering out my arts and my graphics. I'm doing all that. But I heard T.I. say it on this show I was watching last night, Rhythm and Rhyme. I think that's what it's called, Rhythm and Flow. And he was like, he said, you can't be the jack of all trades. You can be the jack of all trades and the master of none. And he was like, you have to make a commitment to something. You know what I'm saying? So definitely building relationships, trying to find people that I can trust, that can help me build my vision, and basically all this in the year one is really just building the brand. Build the brand. 3 years from now, I expect to be doing more shows, performing, opening, doing open mics and performing in venues. But I also, I'm getting older. You know what I'm saying? That's age. 10 years from now, and this is just the music side of stuff, but I want to help other artists develop. I want to help take off some of the time of the struggles of being an artist away from some younger cats and kind of mold them up. Some guys that got somewhat of the same vision in mind. Take away that struggle, because I remember trying to become a rapper and going to it was a studio, Lights Off studio, trying to get on with them, and they didn't have, they're like, they wouldn't tell me that. I'm like, so there are some doors that won't open for you immediately, but definitely get around people that can hold you accountable, that care about your vision. So definitely, first year building brand, 3 years. Definitely want to incorporate more touring, more shows, getting out of the city more. Long-term goal, I want more artists under me, developing, eventually building more outreach. My heart is for ministry still, so I want to outreach to other younger youth, and that may be sooner than 10 years. That might just be something that God manifests immediately for me. I see doors opening for it. So that's as far as the music. As a father, man, just you want to make sure that everything is just getting situated with the kids, man, that they're doing well in school, that I'm there, that I'm showing up to assemblies, basketball games, whatever it is. The goal is always just take care and provide. 10 years from now, my oldest will be 19. So definitely I would have planned that I've taught him everything that I wasn't shown and more, to where we have a relationship to where he I'm my own man. Dad gave me enough equipment and tools to navigate life with, and same thing for my daughters. So yeah.
All right, that's a solid plan, man. Not like you sat down and thought about this. Most people have to take a beat and really, think about it, because that's the thing about time. Is ever moving, man. It never stops. Yeah. It'll be here before you know it. You sneeze and it's next year. Yeah. Man. So that's cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that, and kudos to you. Speak it into existence, man. Because I definitely with this podcast, I like to surround myself with people like you said that are definitely interested in something and are striving towards a goal, no matter what the goal may be. And that's why I like this podcast. It gives me an opportunity to have that intimate conversation where we can compare, where I can hear and share and also broadcast, because people are going to watch this, people are going to listen, and this will inspire somebody, you know, whether it's 1 or 100. Inspiration is needed because people always feel like, I can't do this, you know, like, you know, not me, you know, everybody is on that, you know, so if you have the idea, do it. So that brings me to my last question. It's not really a question, it's more of like an exit statement.
Okay.
So, like I was mentioning, the hardest thing to do is stand out on your own, to take an idea that you have and really run with it, to pursue it. What words of encouragement would you have for that person that's listening or watching this that has an idea, but they're too afraid to take that first step?
You know, pray about it, definitely. Pray about it, but I would say really believe in your idea. You know, God gives everybody their own thing, and your idea may be the game changer. Hold on to it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to use a parable. Sorry. I'm going to use a parable. So, there's a parable in the Bible where there's the Lord, not the Lord, but it's an analogy for the Lord, but there's a master who has 3 servants, and he gives all of them talents. And talents is this weight of money or some sort of value. And he gives one 5 talents, another 3 talents, and another 1 talent. The one with 5 multiplies, turns that 5 into 10. One that has 2 turns it into 4. The one with the 1 talent, he looks at it like, you know what, this is, you know, the way it describes it in the Bible is almost like he looked at it like, this is insignificant, it's just 1. And what he does is, I'm going to bury it. So he buries this money in the ground, and then in the due season, the Lord comes back and he's checking up with his servants. Like, so what did you do with your talents? The first one, like, yo, I turned that 5 into 10. I flipped that. He's like, well done, good and faithful servant. That's what I'm talking about. Went to the next one. Yo, what you do with your talent? Yeah, I turned that 4. I turned that into 8. You know what I'm saying? Multiplied it. And then he comes to the last one. The last one was like, even the tone that he had was like, you know, I knew that you were a hard master. So what I did was I buried mine. And he said, so since you said that, you know, you buried yours, he said, first of all, you could have put it in a bank and created interest off this talent. But instead of doing that, you just buried it. So he looked at it. It was ugly in his sight. The master was like, you know, you're lazy, so just get away from me. I'm going to depart you out into outer darkness. Like, get away from me. So what I say is that don't bury your talent. Don't be so afraid or feel like it's insignificant. It matters. Everything you do matters, man. There's nothing we can do. Even if I was to push this bottle, it falling on the ground, it matters. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing without purpose. So just believe in yourself. Trust that God has a plan for it, man, and surround yourself around people that have healthy encouragement and are like-minded, man.
I love it. All right.
I wanted to give you something too, bro. I don't know.
I was actually gonna transition to it. I was gonna say, did you want to plug? Because I know you got Side B coming out.
Yeah, Side B.
Did you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. So Sunset Sunrise, just to give you guys a little insight about it. So if you ever looked at a eulogy, you see sunrise, sunset, which is the beginning of someone's life and the end of somebody's life. I kind of flipped that, played on that a little bit. Sunset, you know, is like usually the end of somebody's life. But if you listen to the mixtape, there are some subjects I talk about that are somewhat carnal. You know, they're not necessarily bad, but we go through it. It's sin. You know what I'm saying? It's this dead like state of us. And the side B will be the light, where I bring light to all of it. So you'll get this R&B vibe, nice songs, but you feel like, man, it sounds like he's struggling with something. Especially when you get to songs like Passion, The Pursuit, and The Fall, where you hear a man struggling with a temptation. He's like, man, I wanna do something with this woman that's not mine. And then whether he falls in it or not, I kind of open on the verse with giving a spiritual description of what's happening. Like, you know, like, even though you look good and your face is contoured, this sin right here leads to death or spiritual death. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so sunset, sunrise is pretty much that, you know, day and night. Right. What anybody, any man or any woman can go through day and night. But the sunrise part is coming soon. That's December 12th. I'm working on mixing, mastering, finishing up so I can get good product. And then after that, I'm gonna release it, and I'm gonna kind of chill. Because like I'm always doing music, so I'm gonna just chill and give myself some time to like really breathe, relax, and really study the arts even more. Right,
sharpen your blade, recharge as well, because you don't want to burn out.
Yeah, right, definitely. What I got here, I'm gonna give it to you as a gift. I don't know if it's a video. Can they see me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So this is it's past this anniversary. I dropped this last year, October 12th. It's called "Trapping the Gospel."
Okay.
I'm gonna give that to you, bro.
Appreciate it.
And it was just I did that CD in the need of looking at the community. It was like, man, everybody's on trap music, selling drugs, trap sound. So I was like, I want to do something. I want to kind of engage that with my own experiences. So I share a lot of my experiences in there, stories about how I came to Christ, how I was smoking weed and getting high, and then God spared me and revealed His light to me. And it's not and I'm trying to shy away from even saying stuff like, you know, it's not churchy. Cause it's not, it's hip hop, but I don't have to say that. When you hear, you like, man, this is good music. Right. Talk about, I had a friend that passed last year named Jonathan McCoy. We called him Deuce. I did two songs on there for him, one called Deuce and one called Jonathan. Deuce is the silly, it's more of the silly song. It's like the funny memories I had with him, and I kind of enact him. You'll hear it on the skit. And then Jonathan is more of the, yo, I really do miss you though. You know, I really like the real, the pain.
Right.
Two great songs. My final song on there is Ma, I believe. Ma, that song dedicated to my mom, because my mom, she went through her own personal struggles dealing with a marriage that was troubling, and then she also had like certain addictions that she overcame. So she was like a butterfly. You know, out of her cocoon, she made it out still, and I kind of watched her persevere. So that motivated me as well. And I got a song on there with a couple of different guys. TJ So High, I think he did a 2020 podcast.
I just released part 1 of his interview like this morning.
dope. So I shot him a feature, and he knocked it out. He killed it. I love his verse on that.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are too. Don't get it twisted.
So that's pretty much it on that. That is I would have plugged it, but it's no longer. I just took all the last copies out of the CD warehouse. I took it out because I'm gonna refill them up. It's getting low. Okay. But it's on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's still out there on YouTube. You can stream Trapping the Gospel. Okay. Broken Prodycal, Prodycal. The
graphic is on the screen now when I edit this. So yeah,
definitely. I appreciate it.
And you can see it on his hardware. So
there you go. Yeah.
Right. Well, my last statement is this, man. I appreciate you taking time out your day to come do this interview. If anybody want to get in touch with you, whether it be a word of inspiration or, you know, business inquiry, or they just may want to talk music, what's the best way, you know, to get in contact with you? I don't do phone numbers because
it's a little personal.
Yeah, it's private. You know, how can they reach you?
The best way you can reach me on the social medias, I'm on IG, Instagram, as Prodycal is back. So just Prodycal is back, ISBACK. I'm the same name as on Twitter. I'm on Facebook as Broken Prodycal or Carl Turner. Either way, same guy.
All right. Well, I'm going to include those links in the description below. If you're watching this on YouTube, or if you listen to this on SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeart, whatever it is that y'all listen to me on, y'all know what it is. Broken Prodycal, Sirr 2020 podcast, a business minute, man. It's in the record books. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we close it?
Shout out to you, bro. Shout out to you for reaching out, man, and having time. I appreciate you having a platform to where people can express and share their insight on what we do, bro. Because a lot of time we just want to talk about our music and we can't talk about it with nobody else.
Yeah. So it's like Jeremiah said, fire up in your bones, bro. So I feel you. Well, brother, it's been a pleasure. On behalf of 2020, y'all know what it is. Subscribe. Go follow this man. This man got quality music. Go follow him on SoundCloud. You heard him. You heard his speak.
There you go.
So on that, we're going to call it a day. And we out. Peace.
Peace.
How long you been doing the music, bro?
Well, as far as doing it professionally, I want to say about probably been in the midst of 10 years of taking it seriously.
Who inspired you?
It was a great coping mechanism. Like growing up, like I remember like the first rap I listened to, it had to be like The Brat from So Def. And I was like 4 or 5 years old rapping that, and my cousins would listen to me rap that. And then I kind of gravitated to like Bone Thugs and Harmony. It was just like a lot of medicine through music, man. It was like I got a lot of hip hop dads that don't even know.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. It is a great thing to find that artistic expression to kind of cope with the rough stuff, because I keep talking about this, and it's a recurring thing. No matter what kind of home you come from, there's always that outlet that's needed, because it's that stuff that mom and dad can show you, but it's certain stuff that life is gonna collide with you on.
Yeah, definitely.
You always been in Mobile?
Yeah, man. Born and raised in Mobile. I want to say probably around 2000, maybe the end of 2010. After I got married, I kind of relocated to Florida for maybe a year, came back, and then relocated to Texas for about 3 or 4 years.
What part?
Houston.
All right.
Yeah.
I got family over there.
Okay, man.
Good stuff. What brought you back home?
I want to say family and finances.
I understand that. I understand
Two
that.
X right there.